friends, welcome to Salesforce Admin Series. Today's topic is Apex Basics. So let's see what we are going to cover in this video. So first we will see introduction to Apex. What is Apex? Then different data types. Then one of the data type is collections in Apex, and they have like three different types of collections: lists, sets, and maps. Then we will see different control flow statements. Then a brief introduction to classes, objects, and interfaces. And then we are going to write our first Apex class in Salesforce. So let's start. What is Apex? So Apex is a programming language that uses Java-like syntax and acts like database stored procedures. If you have any time worked upon, or maybe you have seen any object oriented programming language, and if you have seen the different syntax used in that particular object oriented programming language, so it is quite similar to that. So Apex is a programming language specifically designed for Salesforce. So when there are any particular functionalities which cannot be achieved with the help of point and click solutions, you can go ahead and do the customizations using the code. So using for the coding in Salesforce, you can use Apex programming language. So its syntax is quite similar to Java, and then it acts like a database stored procedures. It enables developers to add business logic to system events such as button clicks, updates of related records, and Visualforce pages. So there are different options where you can add business logics using the Apex programming. So you can have like different business logics at button clicks, or maybe when you are updating any particular record, or maybe if you're doing any functionality which is coming through Visualforce pages. So in all those places, you can attach different business logics using Apex programming. So like suppose if you're updating some related records, and then on that updation you want to send some email, so you can write an Apex programming, and whenever that particular records gets updated, so it will call for that particular program which you have written in Apex, and then it will send the email to particular in that particular scenario to a particular user. So whatever is your business logic at that point of time, so according to that what you have written in the code in the Apex, so it will help you to achieve that particular business logic. So Apex is hosted. So as you know, Salesforce is hosted on the cloud, and it is shared. So similarly, Apex is also hosted. It is object oriented, very similar to the object oriented syntaxes are used here. So if you have ever worked on any object oriented programming language, so it would be very easy for you to work on the Apex as well. It is a strongly typed. It has different syntaxes, different data types which will be used here. It is multi-tenant because like it is on the cloud, so everybody is using that cloud. So it has like multi-tenant, so it is aware of that. It is integrated with the database, and it is directly integrated with the Salesforce database. It is mainly focused on the data, quite easy to use, very easy to test, and you can version it as well. So Apex supports classes, interfaces, array, expressions, variables, constants, conditional statements, and control flow statements. As you know, like any other programming language, Apex also supports all the different type of entities which are there in any programming language. So like classes, interfaces, different types of data types, kind of different kind of ways to define anything, like the different expressions, variables, constants, different kind of statements like conditional and control flow statements. All these are supported by Apex. So Apex is a case insensitive language. So it doesn't matter you write in capital or small. So it is case sensitive, but then there are some standards. So if you are following that standard, it is like very good. But then if it's somewhere you have written by mistake anything from small letter to the capital letter, so that is fine because Apex is a case sensitive insensitive language. It also supports triggers and database statements. So it also supports different kind of triggers and like different kind of data statements or data queries like create, edit, like different data statements like when you do the different kind of database queries. So it will support those all statements. It also supports triggers, like when you can create different kind of Apex triggers, and then you can call those triggers and perform those events using the Apex programming language. So these are like the important features of Apex language. So let's see what are the different data types which can be used in Apex. So let's see about the different data types. So as you know, like for in any language, when we are writing any program, we should have some data types defined so that we can define different kind of I would say different kind of variables in a certain format, or maybe it's like basically defining the type of data. So as you have seen, when we are configuring any new field, so it is asking for the data type. So what kind of data it is it a number or date time, or like we have seen different list of data types when we were defining any custom field. So similarly, when you are doing coding, when you are writing a program in Apex, you have different data types in Salesforce which are supported. So the first is something called primitive data types, which you can see mostly in all object oriented programming language, that is integer, double, long, date time, string, id, or boolean. So there are many others, but these are the main primitive data types. Then you have something called S object. So S object is Salesforce object. So the different Salesforce objects which are there in you have seen in the user interface, like in the you have seen different tabs of different objects, maybe standard object or custom object. So those you can refer it here in the Apex using S object. That could be your account, contact, opportunity, lead, or any other custom object which you have defined. So you can use that as an S object in Apex. Then you have something called collection. So collection can be defined in three different ways. It could be a list. So it could be it is more like an array, which you have seen in which you might have seen in object oriented programming language if you've worked on in that. So you must have seen something called array. So it is a list. Basically, it is a list of different kind of data. It could be like an integer data, it could be an S object data, or it could be any user defined objects. So that list of similar kind of data is an array or a list. Then you can have a set of primitives. So like you have a list, you can also have a set, and then you can have a map. From those similar data types, you can have a map as well. So what are the difference between list, set, and maps, we will see in the coming slides. Then you have something called a typed list of values called enum. Then you have something user defined or system supplied Apex class. So you can define your own Apex classes, and then there are some already defined system supplied Apex classes which can also be used as data types in Apex. So let's see what is in the collections. The first thing we have seen is the list. So a list is an ordered collection of elements that are distinguished by their indices. So every element will have an index. So it is very similar to array, as array starts with, like you must have seen, like a in the bracket 0 equals, you have one value, then a in the bracket you have 1. So those are 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are different indexes. And then you have values for every index. So to declare a list, use the list keyword. Here you can see the list keyword can be used, followed by the primitive data, whatever data type you want to use. So here you can see it is using string, and you can, instead of string, you can have any other primitive data type. You can have s object. You can have nested list like this, something kind this, like list, under that another list, under that another set, and under that another integer. So you can have nested list, map, or set type within. You have to use these characters. So when you're using these characters, inside that you can define your list, and it is something like that. Index 0 will have one value, index 1 have or another value, 2 this 3. So this is something, it's you can see this table here, and then here you can see how you can define it. So list, under that you are using the data type, which type data type of this list is, and then you are giving a custom name, and you are giving equal to new list string, and then the parenthesis. Here you can define different values as well, or you can define different values after this as well, and then you can create a nested list here. So here you can see list, under that another list, under that set, under that integer, and you have given the name and equals to new, and same the same sequence will go here as well, and you have to close that many brackets, and you have to give one parenthesis. That's how you define list in Salesforce. So if you have defined the list in this way, so what is the sets and maps? So let's see. So we'll go in the next one. So here is a set. A set is an unordered collection. So the list was an ordered collection. You have like index 0, 1, 2, 3, but the set is an unordered collection of elements that do not contain any duplicates. So it will not have any duplicates. But in the list you can have duplicates, but here you cannot have any duplicates. So it's like an unordered collection. So you have simply the names, you have simply the values here, but you don't have any indices here. To declare a set, use the set keyword. So similarly here, there you are using list keyword. Here you are using set keyword, and then you have to give the data type within these characters, like you were doing in the list. So you have like set, integer. You have to give a name to this, your to set, and you have to give like equals to new set integer. Now if you want to add elements to the set, how you can add elements? My set dot add my set, this new set which you have defined, dot add. So this is the this is a system supplied method, and you can simply dot add, you can write and give the number, and it will add the two elements. So 1 and 3. So it is adding two elements. Assert that set contains the integer value we added. So for that you have to write system dot assert, and my set dot contains 1. So it will show you, it will assert that the set contains the integer value which you have added. So it is adding like 1 and 3 to this set, and then it will assert it. And if you want to remove, you can simply remove my set. So here you can say my set dot remove and 1. So the value that the integer 1 will get removed, because you are using, similarly here you are using add method, here you are using remove method. So that's how you define a set in Salesforce. Then the last in the collection is the maps. So a map is a collection of key value pairs where each unique key maps to a single value. So here you will store the values in the form of key value pairs. So here you can see like you have this key as country, and you have different countries in the key section, and in the value you have different currency of those countries. So map keys and values can contain any collection and can contain nested collection. So you can have like any particular collection inside that. It could be like list or set under inside the map, or it could be any other data type. It could have nested collection as well. So you can define different variations in the map. To declare map, use the map keyword followed by the data types of the key and the value within these special characters. So similar to the list and set, you will use the keyword as map. You will give here, instead of one data type, here you have to have key value pair. So you will give string string my strings and equals new map string string. And here you can have like this, like A to B, C to D, dot to uppercase. So it's like A would be your key, B would be your value, C would be a key, D would be a value, and it will convert it to we are using the other method, like we have used add, remove. So similarly we can use one more method, dot to dot uppercase. So it is just an example how you can use the method when you are using a map. So these are the main three collections which can be defined in Apex. So then there is no limit on the number of items a collection can hold. So there is no particular number or any limitation on that number, that how many items a collection can hold. So you are very flexible with this kind of data type. If you're using the collection, you're quite flexible, and you can define different kind of collections based on basically what kind of value you want to store or what kind of value you want to refer when you're doing your Apex coding. Then any other programming language, here also you have some control flow statements. So under that control flow statements, you can have some conditional statements like if else, or repeated else if else. So that kind of you can have simply one if, you can have if else. So those kind of conditional statements you can have. Then you can have switch statements, like switch to particular, and then you can give two different options, what different options will come under the switch statements. Then you have loops as well. So you have do while loop. Okay, do this while this particular condition is going on. Then you can simply have a while loop. Okay, while this condition is coming true, you have to perform this logic. So that kind of loop you can have. Then you have for loop. So like any other programming languages, you have for loop. Here also you can define the for loops. Then you can have break. So if you want to exit from the entire loop, you can simply break it. And if you want to continue, so you can use continue, and it will skip to the next iteration of the loop. So you can use these break or continue keywords when you're defining the your different loops or different kind of statements, maybe switch statements, conditional statements. So you can use these different keywords over there. Then let's see what are the classes, objects, and interfaces. So that is very similar to any object-oriented programming language. Here also you have classes. So a class is a template or blueprint from which objects are created. Basically, it is very important, or I would say the foundation of any Apex coding. So you will have a class there, and it acts like a template. So what you want to do in that particular code, you can define a class and you can provide a template. Then you can create an object which is an instance of a class. So that will basically like you're calling that class. So you can define that object and it will be an instance of that class. So the class is your foundation, and then whenever you are calling it, it will create its instances. So that is your object. And then an interface is like a class in which none of the methods have been implemented. So it is like you can have a I would say a structure kind of thing where you will have different methods. Only the signature of those methods will be there, and but then the body of those methods will be empty. So methods are what? Methods are like defining functions, different functions under a particular thing. under a particular class, you're defining different functions, and whenever you are calling that method, so you can use that um, interface. So if you are to use an interface, another class must implement it by providing a body for all of the methods that contained in the interface. So in the interface, you'll just simply define the methods. You'll simply define the signature of the methods, and whenever you are calling that interface using any class which is implementing that interface, they have to give the body for all those methods which are contained in that particular interface. So all those methods will get the body in the class which is implementing this particular interface. So interface is, you can say, it is the placeholder to keep all your methods in one place, keep your all method signatures in one place, and then when you are implementing it using a class, then you have to provide the body of all those methods in your interface there in the class where you are defining that interface. So these are different concepts of Apex, like the basic concepts of any Apex programming language. So now let's first we will create a small program in Apex from where we can create, how we can debug. So we will see all those things. So let's log in into Salesforce. So you can directly log in into your Salesforce developer org, and from there you can start writing your Apex code. How you can do that, let's see here. So let's go into the developer org, and you have to go in the setup. In the setup here, you can see something called developer console. So I'll click on developer console. So this kind of window will open, which is called a developer console. This is provided specifically to write your Apex code, your write different kind of database queries, which are called in Salesforce SOQL and SOSL. So those type of queries you can write it here. You can perform your different test of your coding. Then you can define different types of Apex class triggers. So here, if you click on new, you can see here what all you can do. You can have Apex class trigger, visual force pages, different lightning components, or any other lightning events you want to define. All this you can do here. So let's first create a simple Apex class. So I'll go to file, I'll go to new, and I'll click on Apex class. So let's give it a name as test class and click OK. Okay, so it is saying it is not an equal name, so I will give another name here. I think we cannot give the space. So here you can see I have created public class test class. So this is your simply creating a class. So you have to just give the class name, and it will simply create your class here. So that's how simple it is. And now under this class, we have to create our first method. So to create any method in the class, we have to write public static void, and we have to give the method name void because we are not returning anything as such in this method. So we are giving void here, and we will give the method name. So we will give test method, and for method you have to give this parenthesis, and then you have to give open the braces here. So that's how you will define your first class under that first method. Now what I want to do, I want to simply so here when you click on system dot, so you can see all the available methods provided by system. So what I want to do, I want to simply basically I want to simply show a message. So I'll choose system.debug, and here I can give any statement. So this is my first Apex code. So I have given this. So this is, you can see here, it has taken the semicolon by itself. So if suppose I'll delete the semicolon here and I want to save it, so it should give us the error. So here you can see it is showing me 3 problems here. So if I'll simply click here and then if I check again, so it is saying unexpected token. In the test method, it is showing me an unexpected token. So what is the unexpected token here? Uh, Public static void first test method. So what it is saying? It's showing me I have added. So let's find out what is the thing which is missing here. So maybe I have used test method somewhere else. I'll just name here first method. Okay, so here the problem has gone. So maybe I have used that somewhere, or is there something which has been used there? So after that, you can see here my first Apex class has been saved without any problems. Now, if we want to run this, how we want to see this particular output is getting generated or not. So for that, what you have to do, you have to go in the debug. You have to click on the debug, and here is an option of open execute anonymous window. So this will open in another window, and from there you can call your Apex class. So I'll click here. So my class name, I have to give test class, and I have to give dot, and I have to call my first method. So it is showing me that under that test class, you can call this first method and simply give your semicolon and give it like open log. You have to check this checkbox so it will open the log and you have to execute it. So it is getting executed. So here you can see different things which happen when you have executed the code. So now you want to see only the debug under the system.debug which you have seen. So what you can do, you can select debug only here and it will show you the result. This is my first Apex code. So that's how you can create a Apex class, a simple Apex class with simple Apex method, and then you can simply run it from debug, and you can you can execute and using an anonymous window, you can execute this particular thing and it will show you the result. So now if suppose I have another class created here, so I'll just open it from here. I'll show you. So I've created another class called email manager. So let's open it. So here you can see it has defined a class as email manager. Under that I have public void send mail method. So in that method I have defined the string as address, string subject, and string body. So I have defined 3 strings. So I have to give email address, I have to give the subject, and I have to give the body. And what this class will do, it will send an email because we are using send mail method here. So under that we can use different system defined classes like messaging dot single email message mail, and we will create a new type of that particular object, create an email message object here. In the string to address, we are defining a to address thing here. Then we are defining subject and body. So we have defined 3 different variables here. And when send email result, what it should do, it should send the email to that particular email address, and then you can inspect results. You can call a helper method to inspect the inspected results. Under that inspect results, you can call that particular so it is your it will call this your email send email result which you have created here. Send email similar to the send email result which you have created, like pass this email message to the built-in send email method of the messaging class. So it will pass this result to send email method, and then you can inspect that results of that thing. So send email returns an array of results objects. Iterate to the list to inspect results. In this class, the method send only one email. So we should have only one result. So it will send only one email. And then if the email has been sent successfully, it will give you system.debug. So when you will run anonymously, if you want to check, it will show you the message as email sent successful. If it doesn't able to send it successfully, it will show you the following errors have been occurred, and you will get the error, and then it will return the send result. So that's a simple email method. That is a simple class to send an email. So let's see how we can send, and let's see whether we will get to see the message has been sent successfully or not. So for this also we have to click on debug, open execute anonymous window. So you have to just remove this one and write your new one. So here how you will write email manager, because you have to give your inputs as well here. So email manager em equals new email manager, and give this. And in this next one, you have to call that method em dot send mail. So when you will call this method, it will ask you different inputs here, and then it will call this method and send the result. So it will say em dot send mail, and then you have to give the parenthesis with the semicolon, and under this you have to provide your three things. One, you sorry, here you have to give the and three. So okay, so the first one is your address. So here you have to give an email address. So suppose I'll give dots buddies at gmail.com. Here you have to give subject, my first email, and in the body you have to give something. Hope this works. Okay, so you have given three inputs which has been needed for this method, and I will simply execute it here. So let's see, it will open the log and we will see whether we are getting the message, it has been sent successfully or not. So I'll just click on debug only. So email sent successfully. So similarly, you can send this email to your email address and check that how it gets delivered. You can write different kind of Apex classes. You can write different Apex methods. So according to the business processes which you want to define, which is needed to be done there. So you can use the Apex programming. You can use Apex triggers. Here there is something called query editor where you can write your SQL or SOSL queries. You can write different kind of queries, like if you want to select all the accounts, or if you want to select different contacts, and then you have to give the where clause, like similar to the database queries which you write in SQL or any other database language. So using very similar to those, you can write SOQL or SOSL queries here, and then when the query will run, it will return you results, or if there'll be any errors, it will be appeared here, and using that you can see different, basically you can perform different functions in the database itself from here. So using query editor you can do all those things. So yeah, so this is all about how we can perform different things in Apex using Apex programming language. So this is it for this session. Thank you all for joining me in this session. Thank you.